The call came through the prison line. My lawyer's voice was trembling, thin, as if each word was forced through broken glass. "He's at your house, your former commander. He did something terrible with your daughter. I can't even explain it." My hand tightened around the receiver. The fluorescent lights above hummed like an electric saw cutting through my skull. In here, I'd already learned how silence kills faster than violence. But that sentence, those words, didn't just kill, they hollowed. I waited for my pulse to slow. My lawyer kept talking, but I only heard fragments. House, daughter, commander. The warden approached my cell that night. His shadow stretched long across the floor before I even saw his face. He opened the door. "The general owes me a favor," he said, voice flat. "You have 24 hours. Don't leave any witnesses." He turned. The lock clicked behind him. Freedom felt like a weapon pressed into my hand. I didn't run straight home. I knew better. Panic clouds judgment, and judgment is all I had left. My commander had framed me before. Classified evidence, twisted testimony, enough to bury me alive in a concrete cell. I thought I understood betrayal then. I hadn't. This was worse. The thought of my daughter, her silence on the other end of a phone I wasn't allowed to call, burned deeper than any cage. If he touched her, if he scarred her in ways she could never say out loud, no, I couldn't think like that. Not yet. I replayed his face in my mind. The polished smile he wore when he addressed troops. The empty gaze behind it. The kind of man who saw loyalty as currency and spent it freely. Now he was in my home, with my family. I needed proof. I needed the truth in my hands before I crushed his throat. I moved like a ghost. Old contacts still owed me favors. A phone was slipped into my jacket. A car appeared in a garage with the keys already inside. I didn't ask questions. I just drove. My lawyer had sent a message, "Check her phone." So I did. I broke into my own house like a stranger. Every step was measured, every breath controlled. The walls felt wrong. Paintings tilted, the faint smell of whiskey I'd never bought. His presence. Her phone was on the nightstand. I copied everything. Texts, calls, photos. It didn't take long. The messages were there, hidden in plain sight. My daughter, confused, scared, trying to understand why Uncle kept visiting when I wasn't home. Why Mom let him in without knocking. Why the bedroom door was locked when she knocked. My blood slowed to ice. And then, photos. Her handwriting in a journal, photographed by him. Pages where she confessed nightmares, drawings where the monster wore his uniform. I couldn't breathe, but I didn't shatter. I had trained my whole life to hold still under fire. The storm stayed inside. DNA results came next. A friend at a lab owed me silence. I submitted samples. My daughter's toothbrush, my old comb, his cigarette butt from the ashtray in my living room. The report arrived 12 hours later. One line was all it took. Probability of paternity, 0%. She wasn't mine. The truth cut cleaner than any blade. My wife had lied. My commander had replaced me in the most intimate battlefield of all, my home. I sat in the kitchen, report in hand, when she walked in. She froze at the sight of me. You're not supposed to be here." I slid the papers across the table. No words, no accusations. She read. Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked into fragments. I stayed silent. Silence was heavier than any shout. He arrived later, confident, smirking. He thought he had broken me completely. Instead, I was waiting. I handed him the same report. He skimmed it, frown deepening, color draining from his face. This isn't... I cut him off with a look. Nothing more. Just a stare that held every hour of betrayal, every night in a black site cell, every lie he'd woven through my family. He tried to speak again. My wife cried behind him, begging, apologizing, collapsing into herself. I didn't touch him, didn't raise a hand. I simply told my daughter, calm, steady, to pack her bag. Then I walked her out of the house, past him, past the tears, past the wreckage. He reached for me once. I didn't flinch. He saw it in my eyes, the quiet promise that if he moved again, he'd vanish without a sound. That fear was enough. The town whispered for months about the commander disgraced, about the wife abandoned, about the daughter taken by the man she still called Dad, even when blood said otherwise. I didn't correct them. Truth wasn't for them. It was for me. I never looked back, not at her tears, not at his ruined career. Revenge hadn't been fire, it hadn't been blood. It had been silence, exposure, a mirror held to their faces until they couldn't bear their own reflection. And when it was over, I finally understood. Betrayal doesn't end with rage. It ends with detachment. The last thread between us snapped the moment I walked out that door. I didn't just leave them, I erased them. Forever.